Welcome back to Mystara. It's time to strap on your jetpacks and get ready to mix sci-fi and fantasy in the third module of the Blackmore series, City of the Gods. This module, you're actually going to travel to the legendary crashed spaceship of the Beagle, the very ship that's going to explode and destroy Blackmore entirely. Granted, that happens 1,000 years later in the timeline, so there's no chance your players are going to cause the Great Rain of Fire. Still, if you want a TPK, that's probably the most epic TPK possible, wiping out the entire globe. I'm Mr. Welch, and I'm going to be your tour guide to the City of the Gods. Like the last two modules, the authors are Dave Arneson and David Ritchie. This one was written in '87. Doug Chaffee does the cover art, though the cover art is a lie, as nothing in the module even remotely looks like that. Jim Holloway does the interior art, and that's a lot of pictures of various sci-fi devices. There's an awesome picture of a shipwreck on page 46, but that's just filler because this entire module takes place on land. The module is closer to Adventures in Blackmore rather than Temple of the Frog in style. It's more of a source book with an adventure tacked on. But what an adventure they tacked on. It's not every adventure that puts you as the first Mystarians to enter a legendary city to make first contact with the shipwrecked aliens. The module focuses on the southern end of Blackmore and goes into some detail of those lands as you get even more of a picture of the geography. The premise of the adventure is simple. Blackmore doesn't have any friends. King Uther needs allies badly, and the Temple of the Frog is acting up again. The party hasn't returned to the present. He dispatches you to see if the mysterious City of the Gods, which has just appeared to the south of Blackmore, can provide allies and help against their numerous enemies. If you are in the present, then Blackmore agents find you and recruit you, though with a lot less talking than Temple of the Frog required, which is a very good thing. One thing that's missing from this module is the pages of dialogue. Dave loved his exposition. The module can actually be two different adventures once you get to the Bargle. It all hinges on one single encounter. If the captain decides the party are spies, and the adventure gives an 80% chance of that happening, then they have to break into the city and steal as much technology as possible. However, if the party manages to get to the 20% option, then the captain shows up with a formal delegation and opens up negotiations for mutual trade and alliance. Don't leave this up to a chance. It's too important to let the dice decide whether this is going to be a party running from androids while they snatch up laser rifles, or have them tour the ship as honored guests and try to understand the literally alien culture they're trying to make friends with. This should not be left to chance. Decide how Captain Reisling is going to respond first and then run with that. The module comes in several parts, not including the background sections at the front and back that gives you information on the south of Blackmore. Somebody really needed to make just a Blackmore supplement that included all the information provided in all the modules. There was more than enough to make an entire book of just what these modules included. Maybe they could have done that with the City of Blackmore module that never got made. I've heard numerous stories about what that module was supposed to be about, but apparently it was never decided on finally. When the line got dropped, all the background on it was dropped as well. The rumors mostly I saw were just varied, and it was still in the planning stages when it got canned. Now, if there's any actual stories behind the missing fifth module, I'd love to hear them. First part of the module involves the party trekking to get to the City of Gods. The Froggies have turned up their attacks on Blackmore, but they appear to be trying to get to the City of the Gods, and Uther wants to know why. When you get to the site that first attracted the Froggies' attention, you discover that there's future tech that the module is all about. The Froggies need to get more of the technology that they arrived with. Their supply is running low and they can't make more of it with their limited equipment. So then it becomes a race to the City of the Gods between the Froggy Raiders and the Blackmorian expedition. You start on your way to the City of the Gods. There's a quick adventure on the way as you deal with some desert nomads and their internal politics as their chief has to deal with a challenge over your presence. It's a quick diversion from the actual adventure. You're not going to dwell on it too much. It gives you a look on the cultures outside of Blackmore, but it's not the main focus of the module. After a bit of travel, you find yourself at the title city, and it's magnificent. It's a giant spaceship. It's easily the size of several castles. The players will once again have to feign ignorance when their players find things they would have no knowledge of, like flashlights and grenades. There's a lot of technology to find on the Beagle, but the players have no idea what they will be picking up, even if the players do. The list of gear you can find on the Beagle goes on for several pages, from the overpowered battle armor that provides the protection of field plate with just a jumpsuit, all the way to the always useful translator badge. Because none of this is actual magic, the players have to figure out what each item does with trial and error. Even if you go the diplomatic route and have Captain Riesling want to be friendly, there's still plenty of action as Stephen the Rock and his froggy minions are going to try to raid the Beagle to replace the weapons and supplies they've used up. You still get to fight space aliens on board a spaceship, but this time you've got your backup and you know who your enemy is. Most of the games, however, will rarely go the diplomatic route, so it's all about stealth and speed at this point. If you go the loot and pillage route, the module is like no other because it never plays the same way twice. There's no actual real map of the Beagle. The players have to learn how to operate the elevator system, which takes them from section to section. Each time you go to a new section, with a few exceptions, you roll on a chart to see where you end up. If the party isn't welcome and the alarm gets sounded, the module gets very difficult. You are literally outgunned and hunted by security robots, cyborgs, and ship crew that are heavily armed and can track the party through the computer. In addition, the computer can seal off parts of the ship, trapping the party in their current section. The only saving grace for the party is the Beagle's crew is under orders to take them alive. There's a very good chance the party is going to be captured by the Beagle unless they can prove to the crew they aren't a threat. There is a slight benefit that the crew is relatively unhappy with Captain Riesling's management of their crashed situation, so you can probably find some allies amongst the ship's crew. Of course, if the party is slaughtering the crew and stealing everything they can lay their hands on, the crew is going to be less inclined to take you in attack. The history of the Beagle is that they ally with Blackmore eventually, and their union lasts for 1,000 years before the Great Reign of Fire, and this is where you make the party the catalyst that gets the two cultures to come together. The easiest way to do this is to have the party save the captain or the ship from the froggy mutineers to earn their trust. There's no set plot to the module, it's up for the party to proceed. The biggest problem of the module, well, the problem with all modules of this type, including Expedition to Barrier Peaks, is the party is going to load up on all the new toys. It's for a good reason. You've got force fields that give you all the benefits of the best plate mail in the game with none of the encumbrance or weight. Blasters let anybody throw a fireball and you can do it dozens of times. Their force swords, axes, +4 long swords automatically. They don't have anything less than that. All of their stuff is better than most of what the party is going to be carrying. There is a ton of awesome gear for the party, then they are going to hoard it, and it's going to be extremely easy to destroy a campaign out of the player's greed. Keeping track of the charges is extremely necessary. You have to get the party to use up their stolen gear very quickly. One way to get rid of it is to have it seized by Blackmore when they get back. There's actually a chart for the reward for each type of gear that they get taken away from them. So you can let the party play with all these neat gadgets while they're on the Beagle and fighting off the froggies, but then as soon as they step off of it, they get all this gear taken away from them, but given an appropriate reward. If you're going to do that, at least warn the party ahead of time. They're not going to be able to keep any of this awesome stuff. City of the Gods is a very difficult adventure to run because it is so open and there's tons of ways to play it. The adventure can be a campaign killer because of the danger of turning it into a Monty Hall campaign is greater in this adventure than any other module in Mystara. You've got not only game-breaking equipment for the party to snatch up, you've got a lot of it and it's easily accessible. You cannot let the party get off the Beagle with all the gear they can find, or else you're going to have a party where everybody throws fireballs every single round, and that will kill your campaign quickly. The module can be picked up online for $50, which is a fair price for a module of its age and rarity. If you're patient, I've seen it go for as little as $40, but you're going to be waiting a while for it to be listed at that price. There's no print-on-demand option. The PDF is $5 as expected. Getting the maps is important on this one because the map of the Beagle is separate from the screen. The module was very difficult to review because it's like no other module. The module it's compared to is obviously Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, but that deals with the remains of a crashed spaceship, where the Beagle is mostly intact with the crew still alive. Instead of salvaging the ship like Barrier Peaks, you take on the role of looters normally, and because you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of crew members, you're not going to have an easy time of it. If you're going to play it, have the DM read the module several times and figure out how to approach it. Do you make friends with Captain Rieseling? Do you just run in and steal all the technology and make a break for it? Do you make a point of stopping Stephen the Rock? Do you get Rieseling back to King Uther to create a formal alliance? That's all up to you. It's not a sandbox module because it's all about being on board the Beagle, but the actual plot is left up to the players to decide of how they want to approach this module. And the problem is that one of their decisions can possibly destroy the campaign. Next week, I'm wrapping up the DA Blackmore series with Duchy of Ten. This is similar to Adventures in Blackmore, where the source material is more important than the adventure. It showcases the Afridi Empire, one of the numerous enemies Blackmore, and it includes their plots against the kingdom. It's also the only module in the series that doesn't have the help of Arneson, who didn't like the way the series was going at this point and begged off. So until next time, remember it's not about the money, it's about the stuff.